Okay, is it now visible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, perfect. So one more time, good morning, everyone. My name is Aleksandra Arcipowska. I'm representing today Building Performance Institute Europe. And we have been asked to give you an opening presentation to give an overview of the status of the implementation of the EPC databases in Europe. And just maybe to start with, EPCs were always a key topic for BPIE to work with. One of the first publications we ever published since the BPIE was established was actually the methodology guidance for the member states how to implement the EPC scheme. And throughout the years, we published different reports and papers. And today I'm going to focus on one specific published in 2014, where we give an overview on the EPC quality control schemes and the EPC databases. We, of course, keep working on the topic, so the information will be updated, the one that I present today. And yeah, maybe just to give you an overview, there has been 14 years already since the EPCs have been introduced for the first time in the directives, 7 years since the first deadline for implementation. We had a revision of the directive that introduced different requirements that were missed in the first directive. I think we have enough information and the practical experience in implementing the certification schemes. And I think this is a very interesting process to learn from, because even it took so many years, we still see that there is a field, the big amount of elements that need to be improved in the future. And this year is very critical because after summer we will hear from the Commission the text of the EPBD, the new review of the EPBD. And we know that EPCs will be an element for an improvement, and we really hope it will be improved in a significant way. So we can, in this long-term perspective of 2020 and afterwards, expect to have really good requirements. There is a project ongoing. It's a European project. It's called ZEBRA. And last year, we, as a part of the consortium, BPIE conducted a series of questions among member states to actually check if the certification scheme works properly. And I just selected one slide to share today with you. We asked our partners and different stakeholders, what do they think about the EPC? Is it reliable? And you can see on the screen the response. We only see around 30% saying yes, the reliability of the EPC is rather high or definitely high, but the 70 either consider it low or do not have really opinion. Why is it the case? Maybe because we missed the opportunity in the first EPBD to introduce the very good requirements regarding the quality control. And on the screen you see the graph comparing status of 2011 and 2014 regarding an independent control system of the energy performance certification. And we will see that over half of member states introduced the control system only around year 2014, so in this period 2011-2014. And we still know that in some countries, even formally implemented, the quality control system is not yet in operation. And why I'm starting with the independent control system? Maybe because the whole discussion on the EPC register starts with the control system. Energy performance certificate register are not obligatory requirement of the directive. There has been created in member states on the voluntary basis, and mainly because they are the tool to perform the control schemes. And we are now seeing that in all member states, the register has been established, and we know that the main purpose was the quality control process. We also see that as they were not required and there was no harmonized guidance for this register to be developed, all this register varies between member states. They vary among in regards to the format and the scope. And maybe we can start with the format. In our study, we actually compare and analyze different registers, how they are being created, which tools are being used. And we see that we have a system that are based on the folder structure on the central computer, where someone is just putting the copy or a scanned version of the EPCs. These are the very simple system that still exists. And all information are available in the PDF or scan format. Throughout different developments to very complicated MySQL databases. And maybe just to give an example, I think Hungary is a very interesting example of country that go through whole process. They started with a very simple database built in an Excel spreadsheet, and over the years there was a demand to use more advanced tools, and now the database is built in the SQL language, is very comprehensive and advanced. So we see that the formats vary, and there are only less than a half of the member states that actually use advanced tools, and in others it's organized in a really not very advanced, just using the basic Excel and so on. In regards to the scope, we also see the big differences between countries. Maybe starting with Germany, where the EPC register consists only of information on the identification number of the EPC, some basic information on the certifier, and the region where the building is located, and that would be it. So it's really, really basic information. Going through the system where just results are being collected in the database, to really advanced system that not only results, but also all the calculation inputs are available in the databases. So we really do not have two systems that look the same. They all look very, very different. And I just want to bring an example of Denmark, and it's just an example because there are many more, that do not only have a database that consists of number of different indicators, but also link to additional other national registries that exist, like cadastral registry or property registry. And the user, the property owner, not only can get the information on the energy consumption of the building, but also on the soil contamination of the land around the building, or even the depth on this building in the municipality, and many others. Of course, those information are confidential to the general public, but they're available to the owner because this database is linked with other registers. We analyze different aspects, and it's really hard to summarize in a few minutes the entire report, but in the report you can see the big section that actually tells about the upload of the EPC to these registries. Unfortunately, this is not always mandatory. There are only 12 countries that actually require registration of the EPC in the database as a part of the issuing procedure. In all other countries, this is a voluntary will of the certifier to do it. Of course, there is a requirement it should be done, but there are no penalties if it's not being done. And we see that the information that are at this moment registered, it's around maximum 20%. In some countries, we really have up to 5% of the EPCs registered in a database, which is, of course, a really big problem. We also analyze how this information is getting into the system, and we have examples of the countries that have a central secretariat that collects all the EPCs and then manually inserts this information in the system. But we also have examples where the system is more advanced and more efficient, where there is a standardized protocol of inserting data, and sometimes through the software to calculate EPC, this information are directly sent to the database. So it can be also organized in a very efficient way, and it's getting more and more popular. And I'm just showing you different maps, but you can see the countries with the dots. where we see that the EPCs are inserted into database in the issuing process. And you will have a chance later today to hear the examples from the countries where the system are advanced, and I think they are one of the best cases to share. And one other point that I also want to add is the public access to the EPCs registries. So even they exist in all member states, they are not necessarily publicly available. And we see that only half of the countries decided to share the information on the EPCs with the public. Some of the countries grant the access directly to the database. Others just produce the summary reports that are published once per year or once per half a year. And this public access to EPC register also is not harmonized. We have very different approaches. There are also countries that even they have an EPC registry, they do not share any information with the public opinion. And those countries are here marked in gray. There is this very interesting project that BPIE was not participating, but we were supporting, is the request to action. It was already mentioned today. And this project was analyzing different systems and showing how the data are being used. And we really see a lot of examples. Of course, the first and most important use is the quality control of the EPC scheme as such. But of course, the registries are the very important source of information on the building stock, not only for the policymakers, but also for the different stakeholders. And maybe just to give you one example, coming from Portugal, which won't be presented later today, we see that really well advanced EPC register that is developed in Portugal is being used for different purposes. The decision maker use this data to feed the national energy efficiency action plans. They evaluate the different programs and different energy saving measures to see and maybe improve the measures, to improve the building codes, to help the design and new funding schemes, maybe to target new type of buildings, and of course to support the information in the real estate market. I could probably list the list is much longer. We can discuss it later during the discussion. But just to conclude, again, EPC databases are a very important source of data on the building stock. And we really need to make sure that this information is credible and available and also comprehensive and representative so it can be used for different purposes. And understanding the benefits coming with this data in the EPC databases is crucial. So we really need to understand that it's worth investing to create a database for the future. And one final word maybe to the EPBD revision that will come now. BPIE for many years calls for a very ambitious EPC scheme, but really it's a moment to improve this system even more now with the mandatory databases, because this is the chance that we have now and it might not come very soon. And we saw already how long it takes to implement the system, so we really need to be ambitious already. I think with this I would finish my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Aleksandra. I will make Pär the presenter. Pär, the floor